Hey guys, TommyBryson here, and I think there comes a point in everybody's life when they realize that certain things just don't make a difference, they really don't matter, but it takes a while to actually notice it. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what a stock split is, how it affects, for example, the money you have invested, or for example, if you should go ahead and basically put more money into a company because you hear about, hey, the company is going to have a stock split. And by the way, the best way that I figured out to learn is by basically learning from real life examples. And so far, we had Google go from, hey, it was $3,000, it did a 20-to-1, now the company all of a sudden is selling for like around $150. Is there really a difference, for example, in the value or whatever it is, okay, in that scenario? You also had Tesla do that, and I also hear rumors about AMC potentially do that in order to actually do some other stuff, okay? But the point is, how does this actually affect you? Does it benefit you in any way? Should you stay away from a stock split company, or should you basically put more money into it, okay? I'm gonna break everything down in this video, and as always, do me a favor and smash the like button. Now, I'm gonna tell you guys this quick story. When I was in college, I had this professor. I'm not a snitch, so I won't say his name, but he would walk into class, tell us, read this in the textbook, and leave, and never come back. When the test came, we all failed. He had to grade us on a scale of failure and basically pass all of us because we did so terrible, and he didn't want to look like an idiot, and we weren't complaining about it either. So my point is, I'm going to give you guys an example to make sure that every single person here can actually understand it. I'm not going to read from a textbook and say, hey, this is exactly what it is, and I hope you understand it. Goodbye, good luck, okay? Now, I want to show you guys this example. Where's my stuff? I want you guys to use your imagination. This right here is a pizza. I know it isn't, but relax. It's a pizza, all right? Use your imagination. Now, let's say me and you, for example, started a company. It's just me and you enterprise. And we started this lemonade stand. And you put in $50, I put in $50 for a total of $100. And we realized that every single year, we're earning about $1,000 off of this $100 investment. Obviously, we basically grab all the money we basically make and spend it on trash. But then we have an incredible idea. If we make $1,000 from $100, right? Why don't we basically reinvest more money into it to basically earn us more money, right? To grow the company, thus make us more money. So we get to a point where basically the company is now making us around $10,000 a year, which is awesome, right? And you own 50%. I also own 50%. Now let's say this right here is the actual company. You split it down the middle. You own half and I also own half, all right? That's the idea. There are 2 shares overall. You own 1, I own 1, 50%, 50%. That's about it. Now, we realize that we have a great opportunity here, but because of capitalism, at some point, someone is going to realize that this right here is a great opportunity to get into business and basically try to compete with us. So before that happens, we say, hey, why don't we start bringing in other investors? Because basically everyone now are seeing us basically have more money, and they also want to invest money into our business. So why don't we make this open to the public? That's when a company goes public in a way, because they want to generate more money and actually get more money in to actually grow and expand. That's the idea. It's kind of how it works. You start basically at the ground level, then they want to go public to actually get more capital, and also the owners might actually want to sell out. It's a whole different topic for another video though. Now, here's what happens. We say, well, okay, we own 100% of the company. You own 50%, I own 50%. This right here is our pizza. So why don't we sell, for example, 50% ownership to the public? So now we split it again, right? You're gonna own 25%. I'm gonna own 25%. The other 50%, we're gonna go ahead and basically sell it to the public. Now, obviously, what's gonna happen here is simple. We're gonna give this company a valuation of, let's say, $100,000, meaning that this company is worth $100,000. Now, because we want as many people as possible to basically buy into this company, to have more money in, to make more money, the idea is we're gonna issue out 100,000 shares in total, okay? The whole company is 100,000 shares. Obviously, you own 25,000 shares, I own 25,000 shares, and we're going to issue out to the public another 50,000 shares for a total of 100,000 shares. Obviously, this means that if you have 100,000 shares, the company is worth $100,000, then obviously every share is around $1, right? And every time somebody buys a stock, that represents a small fraction of ownership in the business. Although we have 25% ownership, you have 25% ownership, okay? So we actually are still the top shareholders, which means we have control of our business. Now what happens is this: when people get a whim of this and they say, hey, you're telling me this company is selling for like around $100,000, it's earning $10,000 a year, that's basically a return on capital, or for example, earnings around $10 per share for like $1. We gotta go ahead and invest a bunch of money into it. All of a sudden, the price of our stock goes from $1 to $10, from $10 to $100, from $100, and this is where things get creepy because we're still doing good, right? People are earning like around, basically, you have, for example, earnings of $10 per share. You're paying $100. Not that bad. 10%. Not that bad, okay? Not that bad. Selling for 10 times earnings. Not that bad. But then we get into speculative territory. Everyone says, yo, this is going to blow up. It is so hot that everybody knows about it. Now, all of a sudden, the stock goes from 100 to 500. Now, we have a massive problem. We see a massive slowdown. People are not basically buying a lot now because people can't afford it. And my friend came to me and said, Tommy, I want to invest in the company, but I don't have $500 to invest into your stock, okay? So we have a great idea. Why don't we do a stock split, right? So what exactly does this mean? And here's where the stock split scenario actually comes into play. Again, this is the pizza, all right? We have it split into two. But again, we basically retained 25%, 25%. We issued out the other half to the public, 50,000 shares. Right now, it's selling for like around $500. And by the way, this basically means that our little company, little lemonade stand, basically 100,000 shares, multiplied by $500 per share, we are worth around $50 million. Success, if you ask me, right? Which is very unlikely, all right? But it's worth a lot of money. So we say, well, why don't we do a 50-to-1 split? That means for every one share you basically have, we're gonna give you 50. Now, you get a little scared and you're like, well, Tommy, I don't wanna do that because basically I'm gonna lose the value. No, you're not gonna lose any value. Nothing is actually gonna change. So what's the benefit, Tommy? The benefit is simple, right? If we have each share is around $500, meaning not everyone can afford it. If we split it into 50, right? Or give you, for example, for every one share, $50. Well, divide this number right here by 50. We say, hey, the new share price is going to be like around $10. So just so you have, for example, peace of mind, if you own right now 25,000 shares, because again, you're my partner, and the shares are right now $500, but not everyone can afford it, you have basically $12.5 million worth of shares, which is a lot of money. But again, if your 25,000 shares get split, for example, and now per share, they're basically 50 each, well, multiply by 50. Now you own, for example, 1.25 million shares. But again, they're only at $10 now, right? So what is the amount of value you actually own? It's the same $12.5 million. So nothing really changed. It basically means, hey, instead of having, for example, our pizza pie look like this, which is basically you own half, and then we have just like 50,000 little shares, now we have a bunch of little shares. Now, what is the benefit here? If there is no change in the money in the company, no change in the underlying business, no change in the profits, no change in the ownership, what's the big difference here? The big difference is basically now we have a potential to acquire a lot of new money. So now Charlie, Billy, Monica, everyone that has $10 can now come into our company and invest more money. Now, according to some research out there, it basically says that on average, whenever a stock splits, it kind of goes up within the first 12 months by 8 to 16%. So people understand this, they know this, but it's not because anything really happens. It's because more like a lot new money kind of flows into the company, and more people are basically buying in. And objectively, that might mean, hey, the price might go up. But it's not because anything is being done differently in the actual underlying business. We're still selling lemonade, we're still making $10,000 a year, and we still started out with 100, and we still have the same amount of ownership. So what exactly does this mean, guys? It means that when a company usually goes ahead and splits their stock, is to make it more attractive to the unbeknownst buyer out there. Now, it used to be back in the day, for example, like, hey, this stock is $3,000 at the Google one. People can't afford it. But today, anyone can afford any stock because now we can just buy fractional shares. So if the one share is worth, for example, $3,000, you can't buy a full share. You put in $50 and buy a fractional of the share, okay? So it's not really a big deal. There are fractional shares today. But for the average investor, they might say, well, the stock is now $10. It's a big difference. I'm going to go ahead and buy in. But nothing has actually changed. There is no big difference. Now, there is another side of this token, and the idea is, again, some companies do it to attract more investors, make the price more affordable for the individual investor, but some companies, they don't like to split their stock. For example, you have Berkshire Hathaway, and again, let's go back to our pizza example, okay? We noticed that whenever we had, for example, again, we went from having 100,000 shares, which is how we started, to now splitting it for 50. So now we have, for example, around 5 million shares. And again, remember, we own half of those shares. So in the public, we actually have around 2.5 million. Those are a lot of potential investors here. Now, what we noticed is that a lot of those investors, they don't believe in our business. They're kind of flimsy. They kind of come in, they kind of go out, they want to make a quick profit. And it's basically people that just want to come in, make money, and then basically leave, all right? That can be what you attract when your share price is a lot lower. So for example, you have a company like Warren Buffett's company, okay? Berkshire Hathaway. I haven't checked it in a while, but I think, yeah, so Berkshire Hathaway's price is selling for around $442,000 per share. So when an investor sees this, he says, wow, that's a lot of money. So usually the person that puts money into this company tends to be, for example, somebody that wants to put their money in here, believes in the company, its advancement, and has a long-term outlook. But for example, if Warren Buffett said, hey, our company is trading for $1,000, which by the way, more like trading for $400,000, and he says, well, $100,000, okay, it doesn't matter. $100,000. And he said, we're gonna do, for example, a 100-to-1 stock split, right? So every single thing, now we're gonna lower the amount, for example, to $1,000. People flood it with more money. Nothing has changed, okay? The company is still worth the same. It's still doing the same amount of money. It's more like a distraction. Now, to finalize this, my point is this. A stock split doesn't really mean anything as far as the underlying value of the actual company. The reason it can make a stockholder a little poorer is because over the long term, the people that might get into this investment might be people that are basically not interested in the company itself and interested in actually putting their money in there for the long term. And the management might just be motivated by the share price to actually earn them more money in some way. So it might not really be a good sign overall, but it's not just one variable you want to look at. Like the share price is just one thing, but the valuation based on what the company is actually worth is the most important thing. Because if we list our company for $100,000 its value, but it makes literally like $1 a year, no one's gonna buy it. It doesn't matter. And if you do buy it, you're probably a little dumb, okay? That's the idea. Stock splits, not a big deal, doesn't really mean anything. And again, a more simple example is this. If we have a pizza pie, which splits into 8 pieces, and you start crying because you want more pizza than everybody else, and then your mom grabs your pizza slice and slices it in 2, then what, do you feel better about yourself? The answer is no. You still have the same amounts. It's just now split in 2. Nothing's changed whatsoever. Does that make sense? So it's not like you're gonna eat more than us. No, you're eating the same thing. It's just split down the middle in 2. Makes no difference. And you come to realize when you understand investing more and more that it doesn't make a difference. So if anybody ever asks you, Tommy, Johnny, Billy, what's a stock split? It's basically usually when a company wants to attract new investors. And they basically say, we're just gonna basically make more shares out of the same shares. And that's the whole idea. Nothing's really happening that actually makes a difference. The stock is splitting, but you still have the same value, the same ownership, the same business. Everything is basically the same. It doesn't make it more attractive whatsoever based on the price. I hope this video helped you, and I hope you walk away actually understanding it without me actually giving you, for example, the standard definition that you might read, for example, from an encyclopedia, okay? So that's it. Pizza, think business, think attracting new customers, think, for example, longevity, think long-term. That's the idea, but it doesn't change anything in the underlying of the actual business. And by the way, think about also opportunities. A lot of people, they say, hey, on average, these stocks go up by 8 to like 16% in the next 12 months. So why not buy right now and then sell within those 12 months to make a quick profit? So it might make the price go up even higher based on that variable right there. But it's not really like anything is actually changing. All right. Hope this video helped you in some way. Like, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified. Comment down below if it makes sense for you and if you actually understand it. And comment down below stock so I know you made it all the way to the end of the video. Actually, comment down below split so I know you made it all the way to the end of the video. As always, up here is another video, and over here is my face. Click subscribe, and as always, Long Term Team officially out.